Hey everyone, today we're going to go over editing newborn skin to make it much more even skin toned, remove blemishes, and just get a really nice professional looking image for my client. This right here is what the image looks like after I've done all of my exposure edits and adjusting of my colors and masking and everything that I want to do in Lightroom, but I just want to be able to finish it up a little bit more in Photoshop so that we end up with an image that looks just like this. So you can see his hands are much more close in color to the rest of his face. A lot of the redness on his face is gone. Everything just looks so much more smoothed out, even toned, and just a much more professional image than where we were before. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you through all the steps that I take to get us to that final image. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to open up our image in Lightroom. And then once we have our image, we're going to right click on it and we're going to choose edit in, and we're going to choose edit in Adobe Photoshop. Once we have our image in Photoshop, I'm going to open up my actions panel. And now one of the things that I have found to be very helpful, and I've talked about this in one of my other tutorials, is that I use an action set from a photographer called Jessica G Photography. And I think her action set is one of the most user-friendly and versatile action sets that I have ever used. So we're going to go ahead and utilize those action sets today in Photoshop. First thing I'm going to do is I like to start with removing the red tones out of the newborn's face. So I'm going to go and choose the action no red. I'm going to make sure that I am on my paint tool and that I have the white color shown here. If I did black, nothing would be happening. Doing the white removes the layer mask and takes away all of the red that I don't want on my subject. So one thing you'll notice over here is that the opacity for this layer is set at 60%. So it's not going to remove all of the red 100%. So you can go ahead and, when you're doing this with your image, play around with what percentage you want that opacity at. Each image is probably going to be different depending on how red the skin tone is on your newborn. So far, I think the 60% is taking away the red pretty much how I want it to. I'm going to go ahead and just finish selecting where all the red areas are, and then I'll play around with that opacity and see if maybe I want just a little bit more, because you can still see a little bit of a red tone in the hair. The face still has just a little bit of red tone in it as well, so we might just need to bump that opacity up ever so slightly. I just want to make sure I'm going around and getting all the areas in the hair, all the areas on the face, all the areas on the hand. And I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to come over here to my layers panel, and I'm going to just up that opacity a little bit more. See if I go up and down, you can kind of see how much red it takes away and how much it leaves. If I take it all the way to 100%, I think it changes the skin tone color just a little bit too much. So I might just bump it up maybe just a little bit, but the rest of it I can go ahead and make adjustments with other actions that I have over here. So I think that's a pretty good start with the red so far. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to merge layers so that I can start with my next action set. The next action set that I like to do is there's just a little bit of a purple hue on the hands right here. So I'm going to choose the no purples action, and we're just going to kind of even out that skin color of those hands just a little bit more to match the face. And again, you can modify the opacity over here on the layer if you think that it's taking it too much away. I actually thought that was looking pretty good, so I'm going to keep it on the high side and just focus on the hands for now. So I think that's pretty good for purples. I don't usually do much for purples on the face. Sometimes I'll maybe do just a little bit on the eyes, but for the most part, I usually just focus on the hands when it comes to using that no purples action. So I'm going to go and merge my layers again. And then the next one we're going to do is we're going to do skin tone you pick. And this is going to be another way that we can just really even out the skin tone, and I find that the default skin tone here is actually pretty good, but you can go ahead and adjust that if you want to. I'm going to do it with the skin tone that we have here, and then I can kind of show you what it would look like if I went through and changed the skin tone to a different shade. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint around his face here, bring some color right back in to those areas that we took away that red. This as well. So as I'm going around here, can't really see it doing very much. So this is where, again, you're going to adjust the opacity over in your layers panel. And most of the time I find myself more in the 40% range. So I'm going to bring myself up to 40, and then we're just going to keep kind of coloring over these areas. I'm going to add some color back into the hands here. Bring some color into the ears. And again, as you can see, a lot of that redness that was still kind of there is starting to even out better now that we're bringing some color back into our image. See if we need to do the hair up here. Well, we can do a little bit. It doesn't seem to be doing all that much, but might just bring a little bit of color back into the hair for us to even things out. All right, so let me just zoom out here and see on the grand scheme of things how that looks. And again, we can kind of just come over here and do our history panel. We're going to take a little snapshot, and this will allow us to do a before and after comparison so we can see where we were and where we are now. So we're already at a really, really good spot and improvement from where we were when we brought the image into Photoshop. So the next thing I want to show you is we talked about how you can change what color of skin tone it brings in. So I'm going to do an extreme here and show you. If I come over here, it'll kind of show you the areas that I've already selected. And this is how you kind of have control over what color you want to adjust that skin tone to be. So I'm going to leave it where I was. I'm going to choose cancel. And now that I've seen that I have a couple spots that I've kind of missed, I'm just going to go and fix those spots to make sure I have everything completely evened out where I want it to be. And I can do that again. Just make sure that I haven't missed anywhere. Looks like I've missed a spot here and another little spot right there. So let's go ahead and grab those. So now we're going to come down and we're going to merge layers, and we're going to go back through and we're going to use our patch tool to correct any blemishes or dry skin that we have out of place here. So to do so, I'm just going to grab that patch tool, circle the area that I want to correct, drag it to where I want it to pull from, and then it's gone. So we're going to go around and just do that to all of the areas that we want smoothed out, looks out of place, anything that will just really make this newborn skin nice and smooth. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good as far as removing any dry skin areas. So the last thing that I like to do when it comes to newborn skin is I like to do a flawless finish, which is going to just kind of do one last smoothing out of the baby's skin. Okay, we're going to go back to our brush tool. We're going to make sure again that the white is selected, and we're going to click and drag all over baby's face, trying not to go over areas like the creases in the eyes. We don't want to necessarily take away those sharp focused areas. So we're just going to kind of focus on everywhere around those areas and smooth the skin out. And you'll see this is really smoothing it a lot. we're going to go ahead like we did before and change the opacity on this layer because I feel at 100% it just makes the baby skin look way too fake and airbrushed. So I'm just going to do this at 100% so I can see exactly where I have gone. And then I'll go and adjust it to be slightly less strong so that we still have a little bit of definition popping through the baby skin. So I'm going to go over here to my layer panel again. I'm going to knock that down and you can see. So before, after. So I'm going to go kind of somewhere towards the middle so that there's some smoothing but not 100% perfect smoothing. Let's see if we can do just a little bit of smoothing on the hands. Again, not going too much over any areas that have wrinkles or creases because those are part of our little baby's personality, having those wrinkles in there. So overall, I think we're good with the smoothing. Get a little more on his lip there. So I'm gonna go ahead and merge my layers. And then one thing I'm noticing as I'm looking at this one more time is his lips just look a little bit too toned into the rest of his face. So I'm gonna add back just a little bit of red. And I can do that by choosing the rosy cheeks option. We're not actually gonna put anything on the cheeks. We're gonna use it for his lips just to bring a little bit of color back into his lips. So that's kind of the nice thing about these actions is even though some areas you might take stuff away, there's an option and another action that you can usually use to bring back a little bit of color in there. Now, if you wanted to add a little bit of rosy cheeks here, you can just kind of brush over. I personally don't do that, but the option is there if you wanted to. So we're going to go ahead and zoom back out. I'm going to show you the full before and after. I'm back up to my history panel. I'm going to take another snapshot and I'll be able to do before and after. So you can see that it made a world of a difference bringing it into Photoshop and adding these few little actions onto this little boy's skin to make it look so much more professional, even skin tone, and something that your client is going to be happy to hang on their wall. So final steps here is to merge layers again so that when we hit save and go back into Lightroom, all we have is one layer. So on my Mac, I'm going to choose Command S to save all of my edit. Once I see this get to 100% up here, I will go back into Lightroom and we can see the edits show up right here. So again, I'll show you the before and the after. So here we were before, and here we are after we brought it into Photoshop. I think that looks amazing. We can even do a little before and after. So here's your before and after side by side. Definitely worth the extra few minutes to put it into Photoshop and really take your image to the next level. I hope this was helpful for you. These are the kinds of tutorials that I'm going to try and continue to show you, that it's really, really simple to just bring your images to the next level and make sure that your clients are getting the best that you can give them. I find these actions from Jessica G Photography as a huge help in my business and making me even feel more confident about the images I'm providing my client. So if you agree with me, give me a thumbs up under the video. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any additional tutorials, and I'll see you in the next video.